I remember how we did it. Street lights in them all days. Now everything changed up and trying to move away from all your old ways.
Right, everybody, what's up, guys? So this is episode 1 of the Mabcast, and I'm joined with Luke Birmingham.
What's good?
Yeah, not too bad. So in here with the first episode, we had our introductory episode prior to this, just sort of explaining what we're aiming to do. So we're going to jump right in with the first segment in this and just talk about some tracks that came out in the last couple of weeks.
I think it's always the best thing to start with, just because, especially this week, I mean, there's loads that came out.
Yeah, I mean, there's 6, 7, 8 tracks that I'd listed that I was listening to. Some better than others, but we'll get to that. Yeah. I mean, first one I want to talk about was Half of Me by Pat Lagoon.
Pat Lagoon we've got to talk about regardless. He's doing bits. His 2018 ended really well. He had songs like Shining that really kind of, we talk about that replay value. 100% it had that. I mean, that was a hit song made by a guy with a very small following from Waterford. Yeah. Like, fair play. Yeah. And then for him to start his 2019 with Half of Me is it's a really good track. Is it a great track? No. I think kind of 2/3 of the way in, that kind of hype dies a little bit.
Yeah, loses a bit of energy.
Yeah, but from the get-go, you're really into it. And if you hear that song live, you're not going to feel that second drop. That's not going to matter. It's just when I'm kind of either walking to work or
depends on like the environment. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you're more like consciously listening into it in your headphones or something, you're gonna notice it more. But if, like you said, you're at a live show, it's just going to go off.
That energy's not going to dip. Yeah. But just as a song, I felt it kind of dipped a little bit. But overall, it's a really solid track. It's a solid track. It's a very, very good track. Is it a great track? No. But if we take into account how early this is in his career, for him to have such solid tunes and such a solid foundation to work off, I mean, sonically, he's so pleasing to listen to. I'm pretty sure he could say anything and I'd kind of be into it. Like, it's just so bassy and kind of solid.
That not everybody can get. Like, he seems to have it naturally, that sonic that people just enjoy, and that flow and that delivery is just really good. And it's not just us who complimenting it. I mean, him and Rickshaw's song Shining was on the Needle Drop when he was doing the review of fan thing.
That's insane. It's so insane.
Like 2 weeks in a row. First week was Kojak, second week they had Pat Lagoon and Rickshaw on it. And I mean, Anthony Fantano seemed to enjoy it. So,
but see, that's just him going through like replies to his Twitter. It shows how big the scene is here. That people not only listen to the music, but they want other people from different countries to listen to it. They're very much pushing this because they believe in it. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, for him, it's just a matter of how much better 2019 is going to get, because he finished really strongly 2018. He's coming in January already with another track. So yeah, props to him. And that was a decent enough tune. Like, next one that I was looking at was from Rebel Phoenix.
Again, solid track. I mean, what I like about Rebel Phoenix is he's a real lyricist. A lot of guys they'll either lean on the pop side or kind of they'll rely on kind of trap or triplet flows to kind of get over beats. He can really, really go bar for bar and is a real lyricist, which we don't have that many of.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we'd mentioned before. You'd mentioned a couple of people, but it was something that maybe the scene's lacking a bit. And this song, Limitless, that he's came through with, really good hook, really catchy, and the delivery of the lyrics are good. Yeah,
it's one of those ones like we talk about Pat's song where it just kind of dipped off a little. That Limitless is it's literally limitless. There was no part where it kind of it's the whole way through, because I'm not that familiar with him as an artist or even his kind of his catalogue so far, but I've only listened to a couple songs. Everything I've heard is brilliant.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was a strong song, and I think he had a show a couple of weeks ago. He had the guys from Burner supporting there, so he's getting his live performances in as well, so it's good to see. Yeah. The one that I was maybe most excited for was the song from Hair Squad. So it's the return of Hair Squad minus Tommy Rose. So I was interested to see how that would go, because small group, 3 people, you think if the dynamics maybe going to be ruined a bit if you lose a member.
I think it kind of depends on the reason the person left. I mean, Tommy just left, you were saying, just for solo ventures, just to kind of goes and do that.
That's the impression I got.
See, that's fair enough. Because if you have a massive falling out in a group, that'll kind of obviously cause tensions, and it seems to be all on good terms, and you can hear that in the music. I think it's you can tell it was a positive kind of separation. The tune is solid. I like it, and it's got that replay value that I kept talking about in the first episode. It does have that. Definitely go and listen to it if you haven't.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it's one of those vibrant poppy songs that they'd made before, and I found myself questioning why I liked it, and it's just one of them indescribable, inherent tap your feet song. It's not. There's no need to really break it down any more than that.
Sure.
Other than it's
like,
just
even because we were saying this before we started recording, is that can we pick out one thing in this song that particularly stands out that we really enjoy? Not really, but we still really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do. That's really hard to do.
Yeah, again, it's one of them inherent qualities I think a lot of people have, is you just make a bop. Like, not everybody has it in them, but these guys are sort of going down that pop rap route, and it really works for them.
They just carry such an energy, and that'll always come across on their tracks, just because it's a very genuine energy, and they love what they're doing. That's always going to come across, and they've got the talent behind it. So
yeah, their personalities really come through in it, and that sort of pop rap sound we're talking about, it's a lane that's maybe not as saturated as some of the other lanes in Irish hip hop at the moment. So it's good seeing them sort of divulge into that.
And again, if we talk about the numbers they do, I've just opened their Spotify, nearly 750,000 plays a month for an Irish group. Her Side Story, which had the feature from Goldlink, 34 million plays. Flowers, 4 million plays. Her Side Story without Goldlink, 5 million plays. These guys just do numbers. 100 Miles, because they've obviously taken a bit of a break. They've taken a bit of a hiatus and kind of rebranded and done all sorts of stuff. That's on about 40,000 plays at the moment, at the time of recording.
Imagine that'll grow pretty quickly, though.
It will, yeah, because it's building all the time.
But I think they're sort of the benchmark for that sort of pop rap audience.
They're the guys.
A lot of the artists they look towards.
Them and Jafaris, and of course Jafaris released music this week as well. This new single, Time.
Yeah, I mean, what did you make of that one?
I was speaking to him on Friday night. We were at a gig and just managed to bump into him. He said he was really, really nervous to release the track because it was so different to what he's released previously. It definitely goes down, again, we're talking about that kind of pop route. Yeah. It's a lot more accessible than his older stuff. I mean, I'm personally a big fan of his music. I do love his stuff. But me comparing Time to a lot of his older tracks is very, very different. I still enjoy it. But you could see why, if he was more concerned about people that like real kind of like bar for bar lyrical rap content or more kind of hard beats, you weren't really getting that on Time. Mm-hmm. But it's getting radio plays, it's getting lots of plays, and 99.9% of the feedback he seems to get is glowingly positive.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a really conscious effort to make a slightly more accessible sound with that track, and it's the kind of thing that is going to easily get radio play if it starts hitting the numbers, and it's one of them things we talked about before. He's almost like a ready-made star. He's got all of the qualities and skills that you'd want in a pop star almost. He's very commercially easy to sell to people. His sound is very accessible. His image is great.
The accent isn't too strong, because we could talk about other guys from in the country who have really, really thick kind of accents from where they're from, and that might be kind of difficult to branch into the UK or America. Not that's not possible, but just it'd be like an extra challenge that you'd have to face. He's literally, the way I was describing it off air to you again, is he's literally like if you go and like to Marks and Spencer's and buy something that you can just throw in the microwave in 2 minutes and it's set to go. That's all a label needs to do. Yeah, they just need to give him.
Not a lot of work to be done.
There's nothing that you need to do to this guy. He's just ready to go. You just need to give him a budget and a stage, and he'll just kill it.
Yeah, you sort of just imagine if this is what he's doing at this point, what would he do with a bigger budget? Bigger video production, all that sort of stuff. Because his videos are insane already. Yeah.
What would he do if he was given like a massive lump sum for one video? I'm nearly scared.
I mean, the star potential is massive.
For sure. I mean, I keep comparing him to and some people would see it as an insult. It 100% isn't in any way, shape, or form. But I'd nearly say he's like the Irish equivalent of Drake, as in he's the guy. Like if you're kind of looking to compare yourself to someone on like a business level, who's doing the most, who's got like one of the best sound qualities out there, videos, live shows. He's literally ticking every single box for me, which no one else is. Yeah. No one else in the entire scene is. I mean, because I'm like I'm sure it came across on the last episode, big Kojak fan.
Yeah.
There's some boxes that Kojak doesn't tick that Jafaris does.
Yeah.
That puts him even higher up. Yeah. So he's literally, I think it's just a matter of time before he starts going into like the UK and America and really started to make like a massive international name for himself.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of just, getting that break. And I don't know specifically what that'll be, but I've seen like Enemy, it's coming. I've seen like Enemy have been sharing like his music and stuff like that. So he's getting... he's starting to get a lot of recognition, and it's just you're just hoping more people like him are gonna keep following that track and hopefully give a bigger platform to the scene as a whole.
Absolutely. Like even he was on the New Music Friday playlist on Spotify. Not only was he on the playlist, he was the cover of the playlist. He beat Dua Lipa, Wiley, J. Cole, Rudimental, all these massive names, massive current names, and he's got the cover over all them.
I mean, it shows you what the curators at Spotify think of him, obviously, if they think he's going to be one of the next big things. I mean, we're both big believers in him and his music and think that he's going places. So
he's set to go.
Yeah, props to him. I mean, next one. There's so much bloody good music this week. So Nonsense Magnus came through with Look Both Ways, and for me, he's got such a recognizable sound because he produces all his music himself as well. So I think there's that. Sometimes there can be a bit of a disconnect between producers and artists when it comes to creating a song, but because he's doing it all himself, it's a lot more coherent.
So you really have to admire people that do that, because I know from experience that if you're trying to work with a producer, you're nearly trying to keep them on side sometimes, because you're saying, okay, this is like the only guy I've got at the moment. I'm just going to kind of, if he likes something more than I like, I'll just go with it. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I've seen from people. When you make it yourself, you've got complete creative freedom. And that sound that you hear in your head that you can't vocalize, you can make. Because when you've got programs like Ableton, all these different programs, any sounds that you think of in your head, you can make in them. So when you've got like a talented producer like him, the sky's the limit for what you can do, and you can hear that on the song. It's a brilliant track.
Because I think it's difficult to sort of transfer your visions and your sounds and
to
your
someone
head
else.
to someone else.
Sure.
So I mean, if you're doing it yourself, it's gonna. I mean, you've got the technical skills to be able to pull it off. But I mean, this guy does. And I'll be honest, this isn't one of my favorite songs that he's done, but he's got such. No songs are under a 7 out of 10 for me from him. You know, every song I've heard from him.
You can't say for most people.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't seem to peter off at any point. He's not got a massive discography, but he's had a really consistent level of output. And his Rage and Chill EP, every song in that was great. And this is, you know, at least at that level. And I mean, if he continues like this, you just sort of wonder when he brings out a bigger project, maybe an album or something.
And we just need to get to that next stage, you know, that next kind of, like you're saying, the 7 out of 10 bracket. Let's get that to a 9 and see what happens. Exactly. Get that to a 9 out of 10.
Get it on a bigger scale.
That's him set to go.
Yeah, and I mean, going north of the border here, we've got a song from Arcane Stokes and Jack Bashful called Blow. I think Jack Bashful's verses on it are all right. Production's a bit forgettable, and the crooning sort of noises that Arcane Stokes comes in with on this are not for me. It's not a great track.
I mean, personally, I wasn't ever going to give the track a chance, just to be completely honest. I mean, Arcane Stokes shared some things on his Instagram story that some very, very controversial opinions that me and 99% of people don't agree with. Lots of things, they were just horrible. I mean, I don't even follow him on Instagram anymore. But I wasn't a massive fan on the song. We talk about replay value or just kind of anything. It just didn't really tick any boxes for me. Just personal opinion. Not a fan.
I mean, I think that's fair. And it's one of them things, it's hard to buy into an artist when you don't really...
Yeah, because you talk about, like, we'll say, like, a different example would be like XXX Tentacion.
Yeah.
I mean, once you kind of hear things or you know things about a person, you're automatically going to have kind of... You're not really willing to give them all of your kind of listening ability or all their kind of... It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
It's different for different people. I mean, some people like to say that, you know, they can separate the art from the music or the art from the artist even. And
I think I can do that if they're not putting their opinions and their stories the same place they share their music. We'll say Instagram, for example. If you're sharing your opinions and your music in the same place, then you're your package, you as a brand, is your opinions and your music. So I can't separate that because this is the only platform I follow you on. So when I have that both on the same platform, I'm never going to separate it. And you can live by the sword and die by the sword. Because he posts something the next day that, like, those people are attacking him for his opinions, but he's, you know, that's his opinion and he's sticking by it. You do you, man. You can say whatever fucked up stuff you want, but when people don't rate your music and don't rate what you say, I mean, you can't give out about it. You can't give out about it.
And if you're coming out with these controversial opinions, you've got to be willing for people to have a go at you as well. Like, if you're saying it out there on public social media, you've got to be willing to take some stick about it.
Yeah, like, I'm not going to go into the things because it's not even on his page anymore. It's just on, like, an Instagram story. But literally, as soon as I saw it, I just unfollowed him. And I'm like, nah, I'm all right. I don't know.
Yeah, not worth your time.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, so I wasn't a fan of the song.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, not a great song. I've heard some other stuff from Jack Bashful that's been decent. He's a decent producer, and he did a song with Woodsy called Target Acquired, which I was a big fan of. But yeah, I'd like to see a bit more from him, a bit more energy in the verse, a bit more versatility.
He's not someone I know, actually. He's not someone I've looked into.
We can check him out after this, but again, the track wasn't great for me, to be honest. So the last one that I'm going to talk about comes from two of the guys from Nuisance. So we talked about Nuisance, we talked about Lutherist in the last episode, and his debut EP, which went down pretty well. So we've got Genova and we've got Rems, Hit or Miss. Some of the flows were quite enticing in this, quite energetic, and I did enjoy them, but the hook for me was just
Bit weak.
Yeah, just uncreative, lacked imagination. It was sort of the forgettable. I've heard it a lot
from not even in an Irish scene, but it's just kind of like if you go to the library and like how to do trap rap for dummies. It's like it's the first. Oh, this is how to write a hook. It was the most kind of bog standard hook that you could possibly come up with. The verses were solid. I thought the verses were really good. The chorus killed it a bit for me.
Yeah, it's one of them things. It just felt like it wasn't fleshed out enough, not thought through well enough. It needed a bit more. It felt unfinished almost.
It needed more time. It needed more effort put into it. Yeah. But that's something you can easily rectify.
Yeah, and I mean you can tell there's some talent there. We're not questioning that. It's just the execution of some of these tracks needs a bit of work, really. This
is another thing I'd like to say just about the podcast in general. When we talk about people, we're not attacking them as personalities. We're not attacking them as people, because we're very much as we humanly can, and obviously the exception of the last person that we mentioned, or just other people that we have personal experiences with. Yeah. Always our main goal is to separate the art from the artist. Mm-hmm. Predominantly because we don't know half of the artists. We've never met them. We don't know who they are. So it's when we don't like your music or we attack your music, it's nothing personal. It's purely the music. Like, not everyone is going to like your music. That's just normal. Yeah. I don't like Ed Sheeran, but he's still got millions upon millions of fans. I mean, that's fair enough.
And I mean, in the bigger picture, it's trying to provide a service. You know, you're trying to bring criticism because there's not a lot coming, so that people can use the constructive criticism and maybe come back stronger. Because at the end of the day, we want these artists to improve. I want people to surprise me and come back with music 10 times better than what they did before.
This is the example I always give, that when grime first came about, there wasn't social media, internet really wasn't that big of a factor in the way we release music. When you were a grime MC and when grime first started coming about, you'd go to these raves and you'd MC with a DJ that was a friend of yours. Mm-hmm. Now, your music or your verse would not be shared with anyone prior to you doing it live. So, you know, it wasn't going to be promoted by your friends, or it wasn't going to be on this person's story who's got quite a big following. It's literally, does the crowd like it or does the crowd not like it? And what's either going to happen is the crowd are going to really like it and they're going to really fuck with it and you're going to be on a high. Or they're going to boo you off the stage. Yeah. And what's either going to happen is you're going to say, shit, this is rough, I think I'm going to call it a day. Or you're going to be like, no, fuck this, I'm going to come back with something better. And that's what we want to do. We want to kind of inspire that drive in people. It's not an attack. It's just come back with something better and show us we're wrong. Yeah. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to come back and say, yeah.
Inspire a reaction almost.
Yeah, completely. Just to get that fire in your belly to say, okay, that last song wasn't great, but I know I can do something better. Please show us something better. We'd love to talk about something better and really positively talk about your music because it's good.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to come and slate a lot of stuff every week. We want to talk, glowingly about this sort of music and have like a lot of stuff we're proud of, and like
absolutely
that sort of draws into the next thing I was going to talk about. Is like I'm starting to develop a playlist. We're seeing a lot of playlists coming through. We're seeing the likes of Airwaves. Shout out Airwaves for bringing through that playlist, because it's the easiest way to keep in touch with all the Irish music coming through at the moment.
I'm not sure who's behind Airwaves, but whoever they are, they're like, we talk about the guy. As far as playlists go, Airwaves are the guys. Yeah. I don't know who it is, but fair play to you, because you're doing so much. Mm-hmm. And it's consistent. Yeah. It's really every single day they've got 10, 12 stories going up. I mean,
it's madness.
It's amazing. Fair play to them.
So, we're creating this playlist called Alternative Ireland, and we're going to talk about music every week, and we just have, and it's one of them things, the songs we really like, we're going to add to it, but it's not going to be something we're going to add to every song we talk about onto it. It's going to be the ones that we think fucking bang, that are going on, the top quality ones. So, I mean, the first one out of that I want to stick on is the Jafaris track. I really fuck with that. Yeah. So we've got sort of baseline couple of tracks that are already on it, the tracks we enjoyed last year that came out, and we're just going to be progressively adding tracks to it every week. So keep an eye out for that, and it'll be all over our Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of shit. So yeah, get on to that.
I think we should get onto some kind of topical things at the moment.
Yeah.
Azealia Banks. Let's talk about Azealia Banks, because we couldn't have an Irish podcast talk about rock music and not talk about this absolute knob. So if she comes over to what even happened? Did she get thrown off a flight, or what was?
Yeah, so I think she was flying with Aer Lingus, and I don't know. It's one of them things I didn't really quite understand. Like, it was going on, and
I think with Azealia Banks, there doesn't even need to be a reason. She just decides to kick off from time to time.
I think she's losing relevance. I don't think she's ever been very super relevant in music. She had that tune 212, which blew up. It's got a mad amount of views. She was signed to a label. I think it was XXL, and she got dropped or left on good terms or whatever. Yeah. And so she was on this flight, and she called Irish women ugly, accused Aer Lingus of banning her. following around the plane. And then she started uploading all this stuff on Instagram, you know, slating Irish people, calling them ugly, saying about the pigment of their skin, all this sort of stuff. And she said she's glad that they were quarantined on this island.
Inbreed.
To inbreed, so that all the defective genes were kept away from humanity. Like,
but see, the worst part, the part that annoyed me the most is because, you know, you'll have people that have these ignorant opinions, these uninformed opinions. The worst part was she knew what she was talking about. Like, one of the comments she left was, "Don't you have some famine to go die in?"
Yeah.
It's like she literally knows the history of Ireland and all the things that she's gone through, and she thought that's an appropriate thing to attack. Like, that's the equivalent of Kojak going over to the States, him having a problem on a United Airways flight, and then saying, "Oh yeah, don't all black people this?
Yeah.
Don't you have some
just stereotyping
historical travesty here to go and, you know?" It's so inappropriate.
I think it's just a cry for attention, honestly, because it has worked. I mean, we're talking about her now, and she hadn't sold out her Dublin show at that point, and I think it did end up selling out. I think she ended up taking a fucking ferry over from England.
Yeah, she took a ferry.
And she was vlogging the whole thing, and it's just like,
because they wouldn't let her fly. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. She's saying how, like, what was it? Thirstyless, fatherless gays, addicted to fake. You know, just making these homophobic comments. Like, it's just not needed. Calling herself the Queen of Ireland, but then calling all the girls Oompa Loompas. You know, saying all these negative things, yet she's the queen of it. She's just all over the place. Like,
she's literally had one song. She had 212. Wasn't the most memorable song in the world. Like, the genre is called hip house.
Yeah.
She's
it's not a popular genre for a reason.
She's not even the only writer credited on it. So it's not, the beat's not hers. Not all the lyrics are hers. It's her only song. Like, no more than Trump. Like, why are we making stupid people relevant?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm nearly kind of regretting that we brought up the topic because she's just so irrelevant.
I think it had to be brought up just to be mentioned, that people know that we're not ignoring the fact that
yeah,
she did
just
this.
Just
leave her.
Just to effectively say, like, it's, you know, one of those things that you just see from someone, you're like, oh, fuck off. Like, it's kind of like you've got absolutely zero relevance and you're clawing and grabbing at any last bit of publicity you can get.
She just chimes up at the right, or she just chimes at whatever moment she can to get some attention.
Because when most people have a song like 212, they build on it and they release an album and they'll do a tour and it goes really well. You've managed to have a really good hit song to go absolutely nowhere, to start playing club nights in Ireland. Yeah. Like, that's like a soaring to a violent plummet. So good for you, Azealia. Good for you.
I mean,
just a muppet, just an absolute muppet.
And you're saying, like, she hadn't produced any of it, she hadn't written a lot of the stuff. You know, it's not even hers, but that's something I want to maybe think about a bit more, is giving producers a bit more credit, because I think that's something that is often ignored, you know. And
we've got so many producers in Ireland that are really doing, they're doing lots, because, you know, we'll kind of, we were talking about with rap, that a lot of people are kind of, they're finding this new sound, or they're kind of finding their feet. Producers, I think, have very much found their feet.
Yeah.
They've found their feet.
The producers are maybe a bit more established in the hip-hop scene than...
We've got some really good ones. I mean, ones that come to mind that you and me were both talking about, Gaptooth.
Yeah.
Really solid producer. Jar Jar was one of the main guys behind the Kojak's album, the Deadly Daydreams.
2 or 3 tracks on that.
Yeah, one of the main guys behind that. We've got lots of really, really solid producers. I mean, is there anyone that we haven't mentioned that stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy from Portrush, actually, up north, for me, the best producer in Northern Ireland, called Seabackle. So yeah, we were looking at his shit, and it's fucking fire. Like, I hadn't heard of him, and Jack Bashville, shout out to him, you know, sent me a message and was like, you should really think of listening to this guy. So I went through and started listening to his stuff on Spotify, seen the streaming numbers, and I was like, oh my god, you know, this guy's doing bits. He's doing a lot.
That's what I've just pulled up here. He's got a song called By the Seaside, over 2 million plays.
Tune. No, it's a class tune. Like,
Your Smile, just under 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Another one called Tighten Up, 500,000. Like, he's Irish, and he's probably got the most plays of any Irish artist in this scene that I know, because obviously you'll see kind of Hosier and stuff. He's doing more numbers than Jafaris. Hair Squared, apart from Hair Squared.
I mean, up north for sure, he's doing
some
of
the
biggest numbers. Yeah,
he's got it locked.
As an instrumental producer, for sure, he's doing some of the biggest numbers.
Even his SoundCloud, because people that come from SoundCloud, they've got a more hardcore following than they would on mainstream streaming platforms.
Yeah.
Because when he releases a track, within a week, it's got 3,500 likes, not plays, likes. Like, that's bloody hard to do. If you talk about like YouTube videos, Instagram posts, anything, to get 3,500 people within a few days to engage in your music, that's impressive. Yeah, that is very
a loyal
impressive.
Following. And he started up Class Crack Records, so he's got a couple of people in there. They sent me a couple of demos through, some really good stuff. I'm excited to see that. He was talking about a beat tape that they're going to be releasing, and he's recruited some very, very good names onto this, so it's really excited to see that. Yeah. One of which, hopefully, if I'm not spoiling the news, it could be Gaptooth. I'm not 100% this is happening, but again, he's someone we were talking about prior.
I think they've tweeted that though. I think they've said that already. So hopefully we haven't spoiled something.
Yeah, I mean, I was the first time I heard him was, I think it was something a Kojak tune, but I later seen him produce a song for Luca Pam, Sam Pelly, and it's that sort of rickety, chopped up beats.
I didn't know it was him that made that.
Yeah,
Sam Pelly's a brilliant beat.
Yeah, because I mean, pretty sure it's him.
I'm the same as you now. I've only heard him. I think Kojak just posted him on his story because he released a new song. Overdue, I think it was called. Solid track as well, solid track. Yeah. But there's kind of lots of kind of Kate Trinada influences, lots of Bad Bad Not Good, lots of kind of very different sounds. But again, which I admire, makes it his own.
For sure.
So if you haven't checked him out, Gaptooth, but spelled with an F at the end, definitely go check him out.
Yeah.
Really making solid music. Is it Cbakl as well? CBAKL.
Yes.
On SoundCloud, Spotify, really doing good stuff.
Someone else that I have to mention, because you were at a gig, you were playing for you were DJing for Upbeat, yeah, and you dropped Man Cub by Bit of Rock and Flynn Johnson. So that is an absolute fucking slapper. Like, that is a straight up heater.
That's just an anthem. That is an anthem. So I told the guys before, I said, okay, look, I'm playing this on my set in the Grand Social on Friday night, and they were so really, and what I like about them is they're such genuine guys. Flynn Johnson in particular, he was, to say grateful. Yeah. He was so happy, and it made me feel good. Yeah. Because I just I'm going to put the song in because it's a good song, not because I'm trying to support the scene, man. Yeah, I just played it. I played it because it's a good song. Yeah. But the guy that produced the tune, he put a thing on his Instagram highlight story. He made the beat in 10 minutes.
That's fucking wild.
Like, Bissa Rock, you're insane. Yeah. Chill. Like, this beat is nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And he talks about all the kind of the influences, and people talk like, oh, what's the sample? What's the sample? It's his voice. He's just that good of a producer that he's just pitched his own voice and just distorted it and flocked it so much that he made it into an instrument, which is really kind of difficult to do as a producer, but that's what sets him apart. He's a really good producer. I mean, I've been speaking to him quite a bit recently. I mean, hats off to him. It's a solid beat, and they've got the video dropping this month as well, so definitely keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, someone else that I've been following for a bit, as we were talking about, was Jar Jar Jr. And I was actually doing some research before we did this, and I was listening to an interview he did on Cork radio station, and he was just talking about something, and it got me feeling really nostalgic on how you get into doing stuff when you're younger and how you sort of feel your passion. He said he actually started getting into music. He got a DAW and he rented it from Extravision. So like, yeah, like, it's one of them things. It's not even Extravision isn't even about it anymore, but it's one of them things that kids nowadays maybe wouldn't even have the opportunity to do. You know, you're just illegally downloading, you know, FL Studio and stuff, whereas he's going to Extravision. We don't support illegally downloading. We do not promote. So there's one of the things where it's like, yeah, he's going down, he's renting it, probably using it the weekend, and that's how he got into it. And then I started, you know, digging deeper into his stuff and finding some of the MF Doom flips he'd done. And he said he's maybe working on some of it, more of his own stuff without remixes. And yeah, we're talking about some of the tracks he had done for Kojak and things like that. And he's one of the ones with the biggest numbers. You know, he's got YouTube songs that have been put on playlists and channels that have anime over the top of it. And he was part of that first wave of sort of lo-fi hip-hop beats that sort of exploded, and he got onto it early. But he's a top producer. Been working with the Cutting Heads collective down in Cork. Yeah, I think for me, he's probably the top producer in the whole Isle at the moment. Yeah,
like I think him and Kojak are like a match made in heaven, because both just because Kojak's got that kind of alternative kind of sounds to him, and his beats very much match that, and it's just all the songs that he produced, they just match it perfectly, and it fits into an entire vibe, and you really understand the album, you really understand the beats. The bigger picture comes together really well. Completely, and that's that. I don't think that would have happened if he worked with a different producer.
Yeah, I mean, it's that kind of thing. It's like, you talk about good matches, you know, you talk about the likes of CL Smooth and Pete Rock. You've got I don't
Name
know.
a more iconic duo.
Yeah, basically that fucking meme. So I mean, it fits for them.
Absolutely, it works out.
But yeah, in terms of producers, it's one of them things I think that they don't get enough credit, and it's just good to sort of highlight that sort of thing with producers in Ireland at the moment.
For sure.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to highlight as well is the feedback from episode 1 or episode 0, if we call it that, the kind of introductory episode. Feedback was insane. A massive thanks to everyone who DM'd the page, DM'd me or Dylan personally. Yeah. Like the amount of feedback and people looking to get involved was overwhelming. It's amazing. Yeah. It's incredible.
I was pretty blown away because it's one of them things we just sort of wanted to do for the crack, and it really it took off pretty well in the first episode, and it's just a matter of staying consistent. But continue sending in music, because I'm finding out every freaking day I'm finding new music. People sending me new music, saying, "Oh, check out this guy," check out this guy, because there's so many people here creating music. It's hard to keep on top of it sometimes, and people continue to tag me in things, comment on things, letting us know what they're enjoying, because I'm putting up stories on the weekends sometimes saying, who's your favorite producer, who's your favorite artist, who should be on the podcast, and getting that sort of feedback. I easily found 15 new people that I've started listening to, sporadically, to try and find new tracks just from people commenting and replying.
The same as myself. And what's even more exciting is that not only do you, because for me anyway, most people would send me a song, was just say, for example, it's like, oh yeah, go listen to Time by Jafaris. I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. And then I go on to Spotify and I was, oh shit, he's got like 20 more songs. And you find like this catalogue of songs and you just get lost in it. It's amazing. That's nearly where you lose all the time of listening to new stuff, because you get so into one person.
You get stuck down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. For sure.
And one of those things we were sort of talking about is like trying to talk things into existence. And the fact that we'd sort of mentioned, doing a show and getting loads of people involved with that, I had a couple of people come to me saying, I am so down for that. And it's like, I want to keep bringing up this every episode to try and talk it into existence and get as many people to listen to it as possible.
Because when I mentioned it to you the first time, I feel like you were kind of looking at me like...
I was a bit skeptical, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it was like you're nearly looking at me like, mate, it's the first episode, relax. Yeah. But see, that initial feedback, because I genuinely knew that as soon as we kind of had a platform to do it, people would jump on it. Because it's such the whole scene, I hate using the word scene, but just go with it. They're investing in everything. They're trying to build it because everyone's got the same mentality. It's let's all work together. Let's really try and build this as much as we can. Yeah, sure. So if people hear this concept and this guy's, we'll just say for example, this guy's got speakers, this guy knows a DJ, this guy, and it's all just kind of, it's very much DIY, do it yourself, get it all together. It's all, the foundation is there. It's just a case of kind of
building the structural elements.
Just building it slowly. You'll need permits, licenses, get all that together, and then you're literally set to go. It's just a case of a date and a time. And people showing up.
I think it really blew me away how willing people were to sort of connect and work together. I was speaking to a couple of the guys at Housey Records down in Cork, so shout out them. They're doing a lot of good work. They were releasing a couple of remixes, a couple of tracks in the coming week, and they were talking about how, if you need help with a website, if you need help with this, it works better for the scene as a whole if we're working together, which is incredible hearing that sort of thing.
Because we talk about the festival and how likely it is that we can make this happen. Prescription down in Limerick, they're pretty much doing the same thing as us, but they're just not going with the festival concept. Yeah. They're not going for the open air thing like we are. They, I was talking to Lay from Prescription there on Friday night as well, and shout out Lay, by the way, that when they organise these gigs, that they do it in Limerick, they pack up the entire place in 5 minutes and there's a queue around the corner. That's mad. That is insane, but that energy and that vibe comes across in the videos. Like, everyone's seen the Summer and Ireland videos on Instagram at this stage. It is insane. Yeah. It's insane.
It's that sort of collective spirit that they're sort of embodying in the videos. And I think that what they're doing is super ambitious, and we haven't really seen it before in Ireland. And it's a massive step in the right direction for what we need to be doing. We need to be aiming bigger. We need to be not just dropping singles on SoundCloud, not just, bigging up your single for 4 weeks on Spotify. Sure. Fine, you can do that, but I want people to start doing bigger projects, bigger visual elements to their projects, to their singles. We need to see more things like this. What is it? 5 music videos with skits involving different producers, visual artists.
Into each other. It's incredible.
It's a big story, and it's it's telling that tale of, how monotonous and boring working life can be, and sort of getting that escapism through music. Absolutely. And what it's like living in Ireland. And, props to Brown Sauce and the other guys in Sesh FM and Prescription that have put this together, because it's a really incredible piece of work. Yeah.
Crazy. It's interesting you mentioned that, because we talk about projects, we talk about wanting albums, we talk about all this. I definitely want more albums, because how many albums do we have? Irish albums that are like, not even concept albums, but just a real kind of like 11, 12 track project. There's not that many.
No.
Like, because you talk about like having one single and bumping it for ages. Flynn Johnson, you have the capability to do this. That song is crazy. Give me more.
A wholly produced bitter rock Flynn Johnson album. I want this. I'm going to speak this into existence right now. Yeah.
I'm texting you straight after this. Flynn Johnson, bitter rock. I want a full album. I want 11 songs at least. At least. Make it happen, please.
Yeah.
It's a direct challenge.
We need more like ambitious, big projects like this. And someone that had made an album, another producer that maybe I forgot to mention, who's someone that I do admire his music, is Marcus Woods. So he dropped,
big shout to Marcus.
Big shout out to him. He dropped Demo last year, and for someone his age to have, I think he dropped an EP before that as well. For someone his age to have already got this body of music, it's incredible, and the way he's developed his sound. And he's a bit more of an experimental producer, doing a bit more ambient sound. I want to see rappers going over the top of this, because this is something relating back to the Housey records we were talking about. They were doing a remix of a Ghost King is Dead song, and they've thrown Pat Lagoon over it, and it's a bit more experimental sound. It's like, I want to see more cross-pollination in genres, rappers going over the top of different types of beats. Let's 2019, let's make this happen.
Absolutely. I mean, it's amazing when you start to break it all down and go into all the different alleyways of people and what they're doing and who they're involved with. There's just so much potential. There's a violent, nearly terrifying amount of potential that if this is given the platform and that people give it the chance and the venues give it the chance and people invest in it, there's no stopping this. There's literally no stopping this. It's a freight train waiting to happen.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the foundations were laid last year. You know, you see in artists like Kojak drop albums and other people drop EPs, and even just building up the networking, you're starting to see more and more connections building up. And you sort of think in the next 3-4 years, you know, this is the time, this is where it's going to blow up, and hopefully, hopefully,
because you do have to shout out guys like that. I mean, like Upbeat is someone who I'll mention quite a lot, just because he's a friend of mine. I'm quite close with him. But you really have to admire people like that. We talk about Kojak, we talk about Jafaris. These guys who put in the long work. I remember when Upbeat was 16, 17 years old and he was playing to 10 people in a skate park. But that's where it all starts for everyone.
100%.
And you have to take your hat off to guys like that. That literally, they put in the groundwork. People say stop, they say fuck off. They keep just working. Like Kojak, if you go through his SoundCloud, he's been making songs since 2014, 2015. Yeah. Literally years and years of work. And then it starts to get somewhere. Like, I mean, shout out to Upbeat, the Enter Aquarius EP's got like 100 and something thousand plays at the moment. It's like, the numbers are ridiculous. Yeah. But that only happens because you put in the long work. There's very few people. You want to talk about guys in America. There's very few Lil Pumps that come out of nowhere. That come out of nowhere with no catalog of music, no discography. Yeah. I can't say that word. And just blow up. You've got to put in the work. It just doesn't happen in any profession. Yeah, we're talking about guys who put in the hard work. So you have to shout out guys like Kojak, guys like Mango, guys like Jafaris, Hair Squared, Upbeat. There's more that I can't.
Is that longevity? Where you talk about Lil Pump, like there's not many people like him who'll maybe last as long as he's lasted. I mean, he blew up overnight, and you get people blowing up overnight and disappearing very quickly. But it's that groundwork you lay before, the years before, that help you stay relevant.
For sure. You know, and it gives you so much experience. That's why even if you're like applying for a job, they ask for like, we'll say a minimum 2 years experience, because they know how much you learn on the job of just this graphs, this years and years of working,
doing the monotonous grind, and maybe not getting anywhere initially, but you know, you're laying the groundwork.
It pays off in the long run. It pays off in the long run. But yes, albums. Give us projects. Enough singles. We have lots of singles. We've literally, like Airways, for example. How many of those songs in that Airways playlist are on albums?
Very few. Very few.
How many songs in that playlist? 131, something like that. There's a lot of songs. How many are in albums?
I mean, what we're asking for really is more fleshed out.
Really think about it, because like we'll say, for example, if people, this is what I always judge an album off. If I ask someone, okay, what's your concept for the album? They'll have a concept. How many songs do you plan on making? Oh, I'd say 10, 11 songs. No. How many songs do you plan on making? If I'm making an album, or I'm working with somebody who's making an album, we're making at least 60, 70 songs. And you're going to pick 10 from that. Because I tell you what you're going to do is you're going to take the verse from this song and the bar from this one, because that was just sick, but that kind of fits in over here as well. And this beat actually worked well over this one, and that hook worked well. And you kind of, it's, you know, on like a crime board and all this sort, where they're kind of piecing all these little bits together, and you're left with the answer. What we want is the album that's the answer. You know what I mean? Where it's all pieced together, and you've got the work, you've got all the long hours, all the studio time, and you've spent like a year on this.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's not something you can do in a couple months. yeah, so just give us albums, huh? Give us albums, please. Give us albums. So
I think we can pretty much run it
we've kind of covered a lot. We've covered a lot. I think. I mean, we're on that
we covered there.
40 odd minutes, 35, 40 minutes of talking. Yeah, so a massive shout out to the producers. Please do go and check out the producers. Check out the songs we mentioned.
We'll have a link in the bio to all of the producers, all of the tracks we talked about, all their socials. Yeah,
and like we said at the end of the last episode, send us more. Send us more. Anything you hear, old, new, if it's Irish, Northern Irish, if it's on this island, send it to us. We want to talk about it. We want to listen to it. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys, for listening. And tune in to next week as well, where we'll have a very special guest, hopefully, that we've been working on getting. So it's going to be the first guest. We're excited for that. So yeah, peace out.
Awesome. Cheers.